All right.
All right, good morning, everyone. Personnel decisions, particularly with people at the top of an organization, are always difficult. And I can tell you, having made a lot of these over the years, that this was as difficult as any we've ever had to make because of the quality of the person involved. Organized, worked hard, navigated our ship for 6 years through the inevitable ups and downs that we face in the NFL. Outstanding father and husband. And I think even you all who are around a lot probably underappreciate how much time we all spend together. And there's nothing more fun than winning an NFL game like we did the last 2 weeks, beating our arch rival Steelers 2 weeks ago, and then winning yesterday on the last play of the game, and seeing the joy in the locker room. And there's nothing more distasteful than losing an NFL game. And it's finite. You either win or you lose. And Kevin did a lot of good things here over his time period with us. It was an extremely difficult decision we made. And I shouldn't say I have no doubt, I would be highly optimistic that Kevin will be a head coach again in the league.
Breaking news on the Fan. Diana Russini of The Athletic. Adam Schefter has got it now. Kevin Stefanski has been let go by the Cleveland Browns. Diana Russini tweeting that Cleveland moves on from the two-time coach of the year who led the franchise to the playoffs twice in his tenure and the team's only playoff win since 2000. Kevin Stefanski has been fired by the Cleveland Browns as of right now.
Jimmy Haslam just held an emotional press conference after firing Kevin Stefanski, and what he said confirms that benching Shedeur Sanders was the final straw that ended Kevin's career in Cleveland. Haslam stood in front of the media, visibly struggling, and said personnel decisions, particularly with people at the top of an organization, are always difficult. And I can tell you, having made a lot of these over the years, that this was as difficult as any we've ever had to make because of the quality of the person involved. But then he pivoted immediately to the fans and dropped a bomb. To win 8 games in 2 years is horrible, it's totally unacceptable, and it's not going to continue. And when asked about the roster being good enough to win more games, Jimmy said, yeah, I think it was good enough to win more games, meaning the talent was there, but the coaching failed. And the talent Jimmy kept praising, the rookie class Andrew Berry drafted, including Shedeur Sanders, who he called the cornerstone with which we'll build and grow this winning team. The message is clear. Kevin Stefanski got fired for sabotaging Shedeur Sanders and wasting a roster that was good enough to win. The emotion wasn't about losing Kevin, it was about the frustration of watching him bench the franchise quarterback for 5 games.
Okay, and I want you to hear this, okay? First of all, ownership takes full responsibility for where we are. To win 8 games in 2 years is horrible. It's totally unacceptable, okay? And it's not going to continue, okay? And I want the fans to know we are as frustrated as you are, and we hear a lot from our fans, which we actually appreciate. We have great fans, they're extremely passionate, and they deserve better than what they've gotten the last 2 years, okay? No, I don't need to say anything else. We are going to give you a better product. Our sole goal here is to be a consistent winner, not make the playoffs in 20 and then make it again in 23, not win 8 games in 2 years. That's not what we're trying to do. That's not acceptable. Our fans deserve better.
Look, I need you to understand what just happened in this press conference, because Jimmy Haslam showed more emotion in these 10 minutes than we've seen from him in years. And that emotion tells you everything about why Kevin Stefanski got fired and why Shedeur Sanders is the future of this franchise. Let me start with the opening, because Jimmy Haslam's voice was literally shaking when he started talking. He said, personnel decisions, particularly with people at the top of an organization, are always difficult. And I can tell you, having made a lot of these over the years, that this was as difficult as any we've ever had to make because of the quality of the person involved. As difficult as any we've ever had to make. Think about that. Jimmy Haslam has owned the Cleveland Browns since 2012. He's fired multiple coaches, he's made countless difficult personnel decisions, and he's saying this was one of the hardest. Why? Because Kevin Stefanski is a good person. Jimmy went on and on about how Kevin organized, worked hard, navigated our ship for 6 years through the inevitable ups and downs. He called him an outstanding father and husband. He said Kevin did a lot of good things here over his time period with us. But here's the thing. Being a good person doesn't mean you're a good coach, and Jimmy Haslam knows that. That's why after praising Kevin as a person, he immediately shifted to addressing the fans, and this is where the real emotion came out. Jimmy said, "Now I want to turn our attention and talk to our fans, okay? And I want you to hear this, okay? First of all, ownership takes full responsibility for where we are. To win 8 games in 2 years is horrible. It's totally unacceptable, okay? And it's not going to continue. To win 8 games in 2 years is horrible, totally unacceptable, not going to continue." That's Jimmy Haslam taking full ownership of the failure. He's not blaming injuries. He's not blaming the Deshaun Watson trade. He's not making excuses. He's saying, we failed, and it stops now.
Take a couple questions.
Yeah, let me just say this. One thing, Peter. The next 120 days are crucial for the organization, okay? We've got to find the right head coach. We've got to be efficient again in free agency. We have 10 draft picks, including 2 number ones. We have 4 picks in the top 3 rounds, okay? And we've got to get really good players who are really good people again. We've got to be opportunistic if trade opportunities come along. We are solely focused on having a great 120 days so we can start winning games around here. All right, I'll take questions.
And then Jimmy said something that shows just how frustrated he's been. And I want the fans to know we are as frustrated as you are, and we hear a lot from our fans, which we actually appreciate. We have great fans. They're extremely passionate, and they deserve better than what they've gotten the last 2 years. We are as frustrated as you are. Jimmy Haslam has been watching the same thing Browns fans have been watching. Shedeur Sanders getting sabotaged, the worst offensive line in the NFL. Dylan Gabriel starting ahead of Shedeur for 5 games. Wrong play cards, no first-team reps, all of it. And Jimmy has been frustrated watching it happen because he knows, just like the fans know, that the talent is there, the foundation is there, but the coaching has been terrible. Jimmy continued, "We are going to give you a better product. Our sole goal here is to be a consistent winner, not make the playoffs in 20 and then make it again in 23, not win 8 games in 2 years. That's not what we're trying to do. That's not acceptable. Our fans deserve better. A better product, consistent winner. That's what the next 120 days are about. Finding a coach who won't sabotage Shedeur Sanders, building an offensive line that can protect him, getting him weapons, creating a winning culture instead of the dysfunction that cost Kevin Stefanski his job." Now here's where Jimmy Haslam did something brilliant. He explained why Andrew Berry is staying while Kevin Stefanski got fired. And in doing so, he basically confirmed that Shedeur Sanders is the reason Andrew Berry still has a job. Jimmy said, "I want to comment on Andrew because I know that there's questions out there. Well, why didn't you change both of them? Or why didn't you change Andrew and not Kevin?" And I would say this. I think Andrew, over the last year, has done a very good job, and I want to go through that because I think it's important to talk about the moves he made to strengthen our team. Why didn't you fire Andrew too? That's the question everyone wanted answered. And Jimmy's response is devastating to Kevin Stefanski's legacy.
Year defensive rookie of the year. I think what's important to understand about our rookies, though, and you all see them, you all know them, they're not only really good players, they're really good people. And they will be the cornerstone with which we'll build and grow and develop this winning team. But I think it would be short-sighted to not just look at free agency, not just look at the draft, but also to look at a couple of other moves Andrew made.
Because Jimmy then went through Andrew Berry's accomplishments one by one. Move 1, efficient free agency, Malik Collins. I think it began with what I would call a very efficient free agency. We added 1 player, and that player made a substantial difference in our football team, and that was Malik Collins. Malik is not only a really good player, he's a really good person who was a leader on our defense. Move 2, trading for draft picks. Andrew negotiated a trade a week or two before the draft started, in which we added 3 draft picks, 2 last year, a second and a fourth or a fifth, and a first this year. Then, I think we had one of the better drafts that we've ever had. I think we added 4 really good football players who were either first-team All-Rookie or second-team All-Rookie. And I think Carson has a really good chance to be the NFL Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. One of the better drafts we've ever had. 4 first-team or second-team All-Rookies. That includes Shedeur Sanders, even though Jimmy didn't mention him by name in this part of the press conference. But then Jimmy said the most important line of the entire press conference. I think what's important to understand about our rookies, though, and you all see them, you all know them, they're not only really good players, they're really good people, and they will be the cornerstone with which we'll build and grow and develop this winning team. The cornerstone, the rookies, including Shedeur Sanders, are the foundation of the future, not Kevin Stefanski's offense, not his play calling, not his philosophy. The rookies. Now, let me tell you about the next 120 days, because this is where Jimmy Haslam laid out the blueprint for building around Shedeur Sanders. Jimmy said, the next 120 days are crucial for the organization, okay? We've got to find the right head coach, we've got to be efficient again in free agency. We have 10 draft picks, including 2 number 1s. We have 4 of the top 4 picks in the top 3 rounds, okay? And we've got to get really good players who are really good people again. We've got to be optimistic if trade opportunities come along. We are solely focused on having a great 120 days so we can start winning games around here. The next 120 days are crucial. Think about what that means. Find the right head coach, someone who won't sabotage Shedeur. Be efficient in free agency, get quality offensive linemen. Use 10 draft picks, including 2 first-rounders. Build around Shedeur. Get really good players who are really good people. Culture change. Everything Jimmy Haslam just outlined is about building around Shedeur Sanders, the franchise quarterback, the cornerstone, the future. Now, let me tell you about the bombshell moment that proves the roster was good enough and Kevin Stefanski was the problem. A reporter asked, "Did you think the roster was good enough to win more games this year?" And Jimmy's response was damning to Kevin Stefanski. You know, it's easy for me to say yes, so yeah, I think it was good enough to win more games. The roster was good enough. Jimmy Haslam just confirmed what we've been saying all season. The talent was there. The rookie class was elite. The defense was top tier. Shedeur Sanders showed he's a franchise quarterback despite playing behind the worst offensive line in the NFL.
And I think all you need to know about Tyson is he has been playing with a bad shoulder for several weeks. We were unsure if he's going to be able to play. Got hurt in the first half. He went in, got treatment, came back and tried to play in the second half of a game where we were trying to win our 5th game. It wasn't like we were trying to make the playoffs. I think this year we not only added, and I'm repeating myself on purpose, really good players, but also really good people. And I think that core that Andrew has put together this year will help move us forward. We hope to have similar results this coming year.
But Kevin Stefanski wasted that talent by sabotaging Shedeur, by starting Dylan Gabriel for 5 games, by refusing to give Shedeur first-team reps, by assembling the worst offensive line in the NFL, by giving Shedeur wrong play cards. The roster was good enough. The coaching was not. And that's why Kevin Stefanski got fired, while Andrew Berry, the man who assembled that roster, the man who drafted Shedeur Sanders, kept his job. Now, let me address what Jimmy Haslam said about the Deshaun Watson trade, because this is critical context for understanding why Shedeur Sanders is so important to the Browns' future. A reporter asked, "How much do you think the swing and miss on Deshaun Watson affected Kevin's ability to win and the way the offensive line and wide receivers were depleted over the last 6 years?" Jimmy's response, "Well, I don't think we need to cover it again. I said it. You know, when you trade for a player and you give up 3 number 1s and 2 number 3s, that really depletes your ability to raise the roster. So did it have impact? Yes. It depletes your ability to raise the roster. Jimmy Haslam just admitted that the Deshaun Watson trade, which gave up 3 first-round picks and 2 third-round picks, absolutely crippled the Browns' ability to build a competitive team. But here's the thing. If the Watson trade depleted the roster, then Kevin Stefanski should have been extra careful with the resources he had left. He should have developed Shedeur Sanders from day one. He should have maximized every opportunity. Instead, he wasted it. He benched Shedeur. He sabotaged him. He refused to build around him. And that's why he got fired. Now, there was a moment in this press conference where Jimmy Haslam got defensive, and it reveals something important about the dysfunction narrative that's been circulating. A reporter asked, "The coach said he didn't know you were trading Joe Flacco. How does that happen?" And Jimmy's response was immediate and forceful. "Let me say this, and some of you said this is a dysfunctional building. I take huge exception of that. The two of them work just like this, okay? And they talk all the time. Their offices are basically next door to each other. I mean, is there tension in the building? Of course. I mean, this is a hard business and there's lots of stuff going on, but the two of them work together extremely well, extremely well. I take huge exception of that." Jimmy Haslam is pissed that people are calling the Browns dysfunctional. He's defending Andrew Berry. He's saying Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry work together extremely well. But the reality is, if they work together so well, why did Kevin Stefanski get fired? If there was no dysfunction, why did the offense look like a complete disaster all season while the defense was elite? The truth is this, there was dysfunction, but it wasn't between Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. The dysfunction was Kevin Stefanski sabotaging the players Andrew Berry drafted, specifically Shedeur Sanders. Jimmy Haslam held an emotional press conference confirming Kevin Stefanski got fired for benching Shedeur. Haslam said this was as difficult as any decision we've ever had to make, but then dropped the bomb. To win 8 games in 2 years is horrible, totally unacceptable, and it's not going to continue. When asked if roster was good enough to win more games, Jimmy said, "Yeah, I think it was good enough," meaning talent was there, but coaching failed. He praised Andrew Berry's draft class as the cornerstone we'll build this winning team upon. That's Shedeur and the elite rookies. The next 120 days, find the right head coach, use 10 draft picks with 2 first-rounders, and build around Shedeur. Jimmy admitted the Deshaun Watson trade depletes your ability to raise the roster, but Kevin wasted what was left by sabotaging Shedeur. The emotion was about frustration watching Kevin bench the franchise QB. Subscribe for daily Browns coaching search updates and building the championship roster around Shedeur Sanders. The sabotage era is over. Let's ride with 12. Let's go.